Hi, my name is Kirk Hamilton. I'm a practicing physician assistant of 30 years, nutrition, prevention, and integrative medicine, author, health educator, host of this show, the Staying Healthy Today Show. And today's show topic is chronic illness, the early years, and the classic medical history. I take histories all day long. I practice integrative medicine, lifestyle medicine, nutritional medicine, and we have many times complex patients with multiple complaints. And so the history is critical. And I'd like to go over what I do for an early history, because if you understand what I'm looking for, you may see that in yourself and be able to get yourself to appropriate help or with your chronic problem. So first of all, I ask the patient, give me the first top 5 or 10 things that you want to get rid of. If I ask you in a month that you would like to be gone to have a good state of health, and they list those. Not a disease, but their complaints. And then I'll go through what medications they're taking, what supplements they're taking. I take a diet history. And then one of the most important things is I go through each decade of their life and say, what happened to you between 0 and 10? You know, what were you treated for, or what did you see a doctor for? What medications were you on to treat something for during that time? And here's what I find out invariably, and this sets the stage for chronic illness later on in life. And here's a classic. This is an approximate 20-year-old female who came in with gross fatigue all day long, can't fall asleep, can't stay asleep, very anxious at nighttime, constipated, on birth control pills because she had such bad menstrual cramps since the age of 11 or 12. Every time she gets an upper respiratory infection, she gets asthma, and she's grossly constipated. So she's only 20 or so years of age, so we got 2 decades to go over. The first decade of life, she said she couldn't even remember how many ear tubes she had put in. She said somewhere between 2 and 4. If you've had ear tubes put in, you've got food intolerance, lots of allergy, and then you've got gut problems aside. So she had the ear tubes put in, and then she said she had chronic sore throat, strep, and tonsillitis, and finally at the age of 9, they got yanked out. She also, again, would get asthma every time she had an upper respiratory infection. She had menstrual cramps starting at age 11 that were incredibly severe. At 13, she got whooping cough, which is kind of a surprise illness, but was sick for 8 to 10 months, getting all kinds of treatment for that. And then she had pleurisy, which is an irritation of the lung lining. And then she got pneumonia 2 to 3 times per year, every year from the ages of 13 to 18. So just right there, that person has had enough medical therapy, i.e. antibiotics and such, to change that gastrointestinal flora to make the gut an inflammatory portway to the rest of the body. So let's flash forward to someone else who's 60 plus years of age, and they came in with irregular heartbeats, racing at nighttime, waking up, very low energy all day long, and especially runs out in the afternoon, dry skin, edema in their hands and in their feet, hair loss, hand pain, low back pain, knee pain, hoarse, and on multiple medications, and actually had done very well on Armour thyroid, which is pig thyroid gland, which has T3 and T4 in it, until her physician, her primary care, switched her to levothyroxine, and now she's having more problems with fatigue, etc., etc. So let's look at her history, her early history. From ages of 0 to 20, she said she literally lived on Tums. She had 3 gastrointestinal ulcers by the time she was 19. She had chronic tonsillitis and strep throat from the ages of 10 to 24, 5 times a year, and she was treated with antibiotics for that. She's had thyroid problems since the age of 13, severe heavy menstrual problems and cramping since her early teens, and she's had edema and swelling almost all her life. Now between the ages of 20 and 40, what she said she has a yearly bladder infection treated with antibiotics, and between the ages of 20 and 30, she said chronic yeast infections, like she was chronically treated for that, which tells you that you probably also have some abnormal bacteria in your gut and or yeast in your gut. And then she got adult chicken pox, which I have experienced, which is very profound in her late 20s. So this person has chronic complaints as well. So what's the key? This is the way the scenario goes. A young child comes into the world and they eat lots of things like dairy foods, lots of processed wheat products with sugar and such added to them, maybe lots of eggs, processed foods. They eat a lot of food intolerant type foods. That triggers inflammation in their upper respiratory tree, blocks off some of the drainage, so they get sinus infections, or they get sore throats, and they get tonsillitis, or they get chronic ear infections. The antibiotics appropriately are given to kill the bug, but that process continues. Every time that they get treated, they go back and eat the same way. They start eating more sugary foods and get more cravings, and that feeds bacteria and it feeds yeast growth. Okay? And so they never deal with the original food intolerance because they're told they don't have any, and they keep going in this cycle. Then eventually they might grow out of that physiology to get infections in those parts of their body, and they might get them elsewhere. They might get chronic acne and get tetracycline for that. They might have chronic bladder infections, or they might have chronic vaginal yeast infections after a while. And that continues all through their life, and things start getting worse and worse, more multiple complaints, more itises, inflammation diseases, and sometimes eventually then you get autoimmune illness, where the immune system says so out of whack because it attacks self. So how do you stop that cycle? Well, the first things that you have to do is you have to deal with the gut and food that you eat. You eliminate foods you're sensitive to. First, you eat whole unprocessed foods. You eliminate foods you're sensitive to. The poor person's allergy thing is getting rid of all dairy foods, all wheat products, and all eggs. And then things like caffeine, knock that down and get rid of it for a while. Alcohol, sugars. Then you replace the gut with good bacteria, and you treat the gut if you find infections on stool exams, or you just do it by history. You might treat for fungus, you might treat for overgrowth of different bacteria, but you have to treat the gut. And you give nutrients to help heal the gut. And as the gut starts to heal, in other words, the intestinal permeability, or the holes in the sieve, start to get smaller, molecules don't get absorbed that are too big to trigger your immune system, and then your inflammation starts to go down. Now, there are many other things you can do to help speed that process, but that's the general ticket. So if you have chronic disease, you can be treated out here for the itises, so to speak, but you want to start at the beginning with a low food intolerant diet and treating the gut. That is critically important. So my name is Kirk Hamilton. As usual, I'll have a summary of what I just said, kind of an outline of the medical history that I normally do in the description below this YouTube. Sign up for my health letter, Kirk's Healthy Living Tips. I'll talk to you soon. You have a fabulous day, and be well.